Configure network devices with SSH secure shell. Build this topology for the 321 router for R1. Switch 2960 S1 PC. Connect, use the copper straight-through cable gigabit 001 on router to fast Ethernet 5 on switch and fast Ethernet 6 on switch to PC. Addressing table, router 1.1, switch 1.11, PCA 1.3. Secure Shell is a network protocol that establishes a secure terminal emulation connection to a router or other networking device. SSH encrypts all information that passes over the network link and provides authentication of the remote computer. SSH is most often used to log in to a remote device and execute commands. However, it can also transfer files using the associated Secure FTP (SFTP) or Secure Copy (SCP) protocols. Required resources on RealLab, a router 4221 on a RealLab, switch 2960 and Windows PC. Console cables and Ethernet cables. On RealLab, verify that devices are erased. Otherwise, you need to remove or erase the startup configuration and reload switches and routers. Configure the router. Console into the router. Use console cable from PC to the router. From RS-232 port on the PC to the router console port. PCA desktop terminal. Okay. Enter. Would you like to enter initial configuration? No. If you see this message on your router, that means your router is completely erased. Enable privilege exec mode. Enable. Enter configuration mode. Configure terminal. Disable DNS lookup to prevent the router from attempting to translate incorrectly entered commands as though they were hostnames. Now IP domain lookup. Assign class as the privilege exec encrypted password. Enable secret class. Secret, enter. Assign Cisco as the console password and enable login. Enter to line console 0, set the password Cisco, and enable that password with the login command. Assign Cisco as the BTY password and enable login. Enter to line BTY from 0 to 15. Set the password Cisco, enable login. Encrypt the plain text password. Exit service password encryption. Create a banner that will warn anyone accessing the device that unauthorized access is prohibited. Banner message of the day. Unauthorized access is prohibited. Configure and activate gigabit 001 interface on the router using the information contained in the addressing table. Use this gigabit 001 interface gigabit 001 IP address 192.168.1.1 subnet mask. Enable the interface with the no shutdown command. Save the running configuration to the startup configuration file. And copy running config startup-config. Enter. Configure PCA. IP address subnet mask default gateway. Use this 1.3 default gateway 1.1. Close the terminal, open IP configuration. 192.168.1.3 subnet mask default gateway 1.1. Verify network connectivity, ping R1 from PCA. Access PCA, go to command prompt, then ping to the router. The IP address of the router is this 1.1. Ping 192.168.1.1. Success. Configure the router for SSH access. Use Internet to connect a network device is a security risk because all the information is transmitted in a clear text format. SSH encrypts the session data and provides device authentication, which is why SSH is recommended for remote connections. You will configure the router to accept SSH connections over the VTY lines. Configure device authentication. The device name and domain are used as part of the crypto key when it is generated. Therefore, these names must be entered prior to issuing the crypto key command. Configure device name. Okay. Access to the router with console cable with the terminal program. Global configuration mode with the configure terminal, then set the host name R1. Domain name. IP domain dash name, for example, ccna-lab.com, or choose any other domain. Configure the encryption key method. So generate a key, a crypto key, generate RSA modulus 1024 bits. Enter. Okay. Packet Tracer does not support this command. This command is supported on a real device, but Packet Tracer accepts the following command to do the same process. Crypto key generate RSA. Enter in modulus 1024. Very nice. Configure a local database username. Configure a username using admin as username and adm1mp. This character 55 is the password. Username admin. and set this password, but use encrypted password with the secret keywords. Then apply the password. Case sensitive A, D, M1, N, P. This character 55. Enter. Very good. Enable SSH on BTY lines. Enable Telnet and SSH on the inbound BTY lines using the transport input commands. First of all, access to BTY lines, line BTY from 0 to 15. Remember, 0 to 15 are 16 connections. From 0 to 15, you have 16. Now, transport input telnet SSH. Why telnet SSH? Because enable telnet and SSH on BTY lines. BTY line, telnet SSH. Enter. Packet Tracer does not support this command, but this command is supported by a real device. If you have a real router, you can set the transport input to telnet and also for SSH. On Packet Tracer, you can select only one, or telnet or SSH, only one. So I will use only SSH. Enter. The command is accepted. Continue. Change the login method to use the local database for user verification. And apply login local. Okay. The login will use the local database. And local database has the username admin and the password. So you will use this username on the local database for SSH access. Save running configuration to startup configuration and copy running config to startup config. Enter, enter. Establish SSH connection to the router. Start TerraTerm from PCA. On a real device, on a real PC, TerraTerm is the program that you can use to access using SSH. This is the program. If you want to connect, enter here the IP address of the router 192.168.1.1. Use port 22 for SSH and select here SSH. Then click on OK. Also, to access SSH, you can use PuTTY. You can set here the IP address of the router and here the SSH on port 22. Then open to connect the router on a real app. On Packet Tracer, there are two methods. Okay, exit from terminal and go to command prompt. The first method is use SSH option L. L for it's not one, it's L -L. The username admin, the IP address for the device. This is the IP address of the router. SSH option L admin, that is the username configured on the router to access SSH and the IP address of the router. Press enter. The password is this. Remember, the password for admin is this. Case sensitive A, D, M1, N, P, character 55. Enter. Then you will see the banner and the prompt from R1. enable, and the password for enable is class. You have the access using SSH. Exit. There is another method down here. Telnet SSH client. Use SSH, the IP address, and username admin. Connect. Set the password ADM1NE, the character 55. Very nice. Exit. Yes. Close this. No. Yes. Okay. Configure switch for SSH access. Configure basic settings on the switch. Console into the switch. Okay. Change the console to the switch. Console port on the switch. Go PCA terminal. Okay. Enter. Privilege exec mode. Enable. Configuration mode. Configure terminal. Disable DNS lookup. No IP domain lookup. Class as the privilege exec encrypted password. Enable secret class. Cisco as the console password and enable login. Cisco as the VTY password and enable login. Access console, line console 0, password Cisco, login. Then line VTY 0 to 15, password Cisco, login. Exit. Encrypt the plain text password, service password encryption. Create the banner message of the day. When authorized access is prohibited. Configure and activate the VLAN 1 interface on the switch according to the addressing table. The virtual interface is VLAN 1 and use this IP address 1.11. Interface VLAN 1 IP address 192.168.1.11, subnet mask 24. And don't forget, enable this interface, no shutdown. Enter. Exit and set the default gateway. IP default gateway 192.168.1.1. Save the running configuration to the startup configuration. And copy running config startup config. Enter. Configure the switch for SSH connectivity. The same commands that you use it to configure SSH on the router. Device name, configure terminal. Device name is configured on global configuration mode. Host name S1. Domain, IP domain name ccnalabs.com. Encrypted key, crypto key generate RSA modulus 1024 bits. This command is not supported by Packet Tracer, but should be supported for a real switch. The command accepted on Packet Tracer is this: crypto key generate RSA, then set the modulus to 1024. Very nice. Configure the local database username. Use the same username. admin. The secret password, the encrypted password should be this. Okay, but it's the encrypted password, the secret password, ADM1NP, this character 55. Okay, sensitive. Enter. Enable Telnet SSH on the BTY lines. Access to BTY lines, line BTY 0 to 15. Sorry. Exit line BTY 0 to 15. And enable Telnet and SSH. Transport input Telnet SSH. Okay, this command is not supported by Packet Tracer, but should be supported on a real switch. On Packet Tracer, you cannot use bots. You will use only one, or Telnet or SSH. In my case, I will use only SSH, and the command is accepted. Change the login method to use the local database for user verification. Login, use the local database, login local. So you will use the username and password created on the local database to access the switch using SSH. Okay, and save configurations. Copy running config to startup config. Enter. Establish SSH connection to the switch. Use Teraterm from PCA. From the PC, close the terminal and access the switch on command prompt. Use SSH-L, the username admin, and the IP address of the switch 192.168.1.11. Okay, remember this is not 1, this is L. Enter. The password ADM1MP, the character 55. Enter. Enable class. You are on the switch S1. Exit. Are you able to establish an SSH session with the switch? Yes, SSH can be configured on a switch using the same commands that were used on the router. SSH from the command line interface on the switch. The SSH client is built into the Cisco IOS and can be run from the CLI. You will SSH to the router from CLI on the switch. Okay, access the switch again. Go to terminal to access the switch. Now you are on switch S1. Enter. You have the console connection to S1 using the terminal on PCA. And from the switch S1, access SSH, access the router using SSH. SSH-L, the username is admin, and use the IP address of the router, 1.1. So the password ADM1MP, the character 55. Enter. Enable class. Very nice. You can return to S1 without closing the SSH session to R1 by pressing Ctrl-Shift-6. Release the Ctrl-Shift-6 keys and press X. the switch privilege exit prompt displays. Okay, Control Shift 6. Control Shift 6. Okay, these keys are not working on Pocket Tracer, but the main goal is that you can return to S1 without closing the SSH session. To return to the SSH session on R1, press Enter on a blank CLI line. You may need to press Enter a second time to see the router CLI prompt. Okay, on a blank CLI line, press Enter, and the SSH connection will be re-established, and you will access to the router with SSH. To end the SSH session on R1, type exit. You are on R1, type exit. Now you are on S1. But don't forget this step. Use the question mark to display the parameter options available with SSH command. SSH and question mark. For example, the L option is login using this username. So that's why you will use option L. You will use this username to access. What version of SSH are supported from the CLI? For example, on S1 verify that with the following command SSH-B and the question mark. In this case, you can support version 1 and version 2 for SSH. The 2960 switch running iOS version 15.0 supports SSH version 1 and version 2. How would you provide multiple users, each with their own username, access to a network device? You would add each user's username and password to the local database using the username command. It is also possible to use a Radius or TACAC server, but this has not been covered yet. This is covered on CCNA security. But for example, on S1, configure terminal, create another username, call it user1, and the secret password will be also user1. Enter. Now exit, then close. Use the command prompt from PC to access S1. SSH option L, the username is not admin in this case, will be user1, and the IP address of the switch. Enter. The password is user1. Now you have the access with another user. And you can add multiple users. Also, you can set privileges and authorizations for those users. Different privileges and authorizations. But this is covered on CCNA security. Thank you.